Welcome to The Explainer. It's amazing how sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest secrets. Today, we're going to take just one single short line of an ancient prayer, literally 8 words, and peel it back layer by layer. And you are not going to believe how much history, psychology, and just profound meaning is packed inside. Let's get into it.
So, first, let me ask you something. When you're about to do something big, give a speech, take a huge test, have one of those conversations, what's your go-to move to get started? For a lot of us, right, it's that deep breath. Or maybe you put on a specific song that gets you in the zone. Or you give yourself a quick little pep talk in the mirror. We all have our own little start button.
Well, for millions of people all over the world, this line right here, this is that start button. It's the very first thing they say before they jump into the central prayer in Judaism, the Amida. It's all about focusing the mind, preparing the heart. But there's something really strange about it. Kind of paradoxical when you really stop and think about it.
And that gets us to our first layer. This is the prayer before the prayer. And it's not just a warm-up. This line presents this fascinating puzzle about what it even means to communicate, especially when you're trying to connect with something, well, bigger than yourself.
Okay, so here's the logical puzzle. To say the words, "open my lips," your lips have to already be open. You're using your voice to ask for the ability to use your voice. It sounds totally circular, doesn't it? I mean, what is actually going on here?
Well, it completely flips the script on what we might think prayer is supposed to be. You might think it's a performance, a chance to say, hey, look at me, I've got all the right holy words. But this line, it forces you to start in the complete opposite place. It's not a performance, it's a confession. It's saying, I got nothing. I can't even do this on my own. I need help just to get started.
So this is the crucial part. This line isn't just some polite introduction. The ancient sages who put it there saw it as the essential key to the whole thing. It is the mechanism. By admitting you can't speak on your own, you actually unlock the very ability to speak. Wow. So who would come up with an idea that's so profoundly humble?
And that question brings us to our second layer, the author of this line. And let me tell you, it is probably not who you'd expect. You might guess it was some monk or a mystic living a quiet life of deep thought. But the real story is way more dramatic.
Get this, the author was King David. Yeah, that King David. The one who took down Goliath, the famous warrior, the powerful poet king. A guy who you'd think had absolutely no problem speaking his mind.
But we got to be really specific here. This line was not written by the confident, triumphant David, the one standing over a defeated giant. This is not the highlight reel version of the king.
No. These words come from David at his absolute lowest point. This is the broken king, just drowning in guilt and shame, a man who believed he had sinned so badly that he'd lost the right to even talk to God anymore. This line is straight out of Psalm 51. And he wrote that psalm right after the whole catastrophic affair with Bathsheba and having her husband killed. He was just shattered. He felt like the divine spirit had totally abandoned him. He felt so unworthy, so cut off from everything, that his prayers felt useless. So the phrase, "open my lips," it's not some poetic little flourish. It's a gut-wrenching plea from a man at rock bottom, just begging for permission to speak again.
Okay, so that brings up a huge question, right? If this was such an intensely personal, painful cry from one guy's darkest hour, why in the world did it become the official opening line for an entire nation's daily communal prayer? This is where we get to our third layer, and it's a big one. So let's look at the timeline, because this shows a massive shift. For centuries after David, prayer was all tied up with the sacrificial system at the temple in Jerusalem. That was the formal way to connect, to atone. But then in 586 BCE, everything changes. The temple is destroyed, and that entire system, it's just gone, overnight. And this created this incredible connection. All of a sudden, the entire nation was going through the exact same crisis that David had gone through as an individual. They felt broken, they were in exile, they felt spiritually cut off. Without the temple, they were terrified that they'd lost their connection to God, that they weren't worthy of being heard anymore.
And this is where the sages did something absolutely brilliant. They took the words of a broken king and put them into the mouths of a broken people. And what they taught was this: when all the formal systems are gone, when you feel like you have absolutely nothing left, that is precisely the moment you have the one thing that truly matters: humility. Admitting you're unworthy becomes the very thing that makes you worthy to speak.
But we're not done. There's one final, even deeper layer to peel back here. On a psychological level,
what is this prayer actually doing? I mean, what does it really mean to have your lips opened? And the answer? It's just this beautiful, mystical idea.
The great mystic Rav Kook, he had this incredible take on it. He said we're looking at it all wrong. The point of the prayer isn't to ask God to, inject praise or spirituality into us. He says that feeling of praise, that connection, it's already there. It's a natural part of our soul. The problem isn't what's on the inside. The problem is the gate.
So think about it like this. Inside every one of us, there's a treasure. A natural, soulful desire to connect, to praise, to feel something more. But our lips, they're like a physical gate. And that gate can get rusted shut by all the stuff of daily life, right? By cynicism, by materialism, by just the dullness of routine, or, like in David's case, by sin. So this prayer then becomes the key. It's a request to unlock that rusty gate so that the treasure that is already inside can finally come flowing out. It's not about manufacturing a feeling. It's about liberating one.
So, there you have it. We took this one simple line and we've peeled it all the way back. On the surface, it's a practical start button to help you focus. Go deeper. It's a philosophical statement about needing help. Deeper still, it's a historical solution to a national catastrophe. And at its very core, it's a psychological key to unlocking the best parts of ourselves.
And that just leaves us with one last thought to chew on. In a world that is always telling us to be confident, to have all the answers, to perform, what if the most powerful, the most authentic, and the most connecting way to speak to anyone about anything is to first have the courage to admit that you have no words of your own? What if vulnerability isn't a weakness, but it's the very key that opens the gate?